are more questions than answers. Pictures in my mind but will not show.
For us today, our senior-most person to walk us through how to use technology is by the name Mr. Kweku Acquah.
Thank you very much, everybody, for having me. Just to share a few 2 cents of mine with each and every one of us. I want to thank Mrs. J and the Rainbow team for allowing me to just share my 2 cents with you. So, we're going to look at it in terms of this topic that I've been given. Look at using technology for the wider accessibility and promoting diversity. When I saw the topic, I said, this woman wants to kill me. Wants me to look at it from, so I have to make sure I touch on technology, touch on accessibility, promoting diversity, and then also look at inclusion, and then situate all of that within microlearning. But we all do it. And surprisingly, you realize that these are things that within your organization, it happens. But you may not have adverted your mind to it. Until I started looking at microlearning, and then I realized, these things I've implemented it within my organization, but I never termed it as microlearning. So it was a reality check for me. So just a couple of things, and then I really want us to do an engagement session. So just rush through. I have just 6 slides that I'll quickly run through. So starting out from what is microlearning. So first of all, because we are talking about microlearning. So what is indeed microlearning? And it basically talks about delivering bite-sized knowledge, mostly within 5 to 10 minutes. Some people will say between 3 to 5 minutes, but I want to extend it to 5 to 10 minutes. At a particular time for specific focus. So it has to be at specific times, and you must have specific focus. And the overall objective must be that you want to be specific with the learning outcome. So you need to determine what the learning outcome will be. I'll come back to the definition once we go into further detail. Then the other thing is you must have the audience, and it uses an audience. So you must have a targeted audience that you know. Trust me, within your organization, it's not everybody that microlearning will be suitable for. So you need to really be specific as to what it is. But gradually you can incrementally introduce it and then bring people along to it. And we'll talk more about it. What forms does microlearning take? And microlearning basically takes different forms, but I decided to zoom in on these ones because these are the predominant ones that are easy to learn, situated within Africa. And Ghana to be specific, Nigeria. So videos. Videos it is currently the research outcome as of now says that on the internet, 80% of the internet traffic that you find is all about videos. So 80% of the traffic you have on the net are all about videos. Why is this so? Because people learn by experience more. Visualization is predominant. So videos is controlling 80% of the internet traffic that you have. Gamification is also another way that is introducing, bringing games within our learning experiences, whether formally or informally. Infographics. Nowadays, lately, you see people's PowerPoint presentation, and you put in with infographics, and those infographics, just one icon can tell you a whole lot about a whole sentence of words. One icon can tell you. So that is bite-sized information because, and it is visualization. Once you see it, you know that this is what this text is going to communicate to me. And that is one way of learning. Infographics also take the form of post, people posting blogs as well, and then book summaries. Trust me, there are book summaries. A whole book that has about 400 pages. There's somebody or people or AI, artificial intelligence, have summarized those books within 2-3 pages that you don't need to sit and read. If you take somebody like Mr. Jackson being an executive of Deloitte, will not have the time to really want to go through the whole book at a time. But with a book summary, it's an easy way of picking the information, the salient information that you can, and that's one way you can introduce it within your organization. That's why I said microlearning must be targeted to specifically. It's not meant for everybody. Twice a month, actually. The last week session of every month, 15 minutes of that time, the managing director moderates a session of every executive member. So he decides this month, this is what we are all learning, or this is a book we are all going to. So if it's a leadership book, then he gives it to everybody, reads about it, which is just 1 or 2 pages, and then we discuss it. What are the learnings? So everybody must give a learning outcome, what they've picked up from it, and that's the way of intro. So you pick the material, which is the micro-learning, and then see how best you can craft learning experiences out of it within your organization. And that's a really, really brilliant thing that can happen within your organization. Peer-to-peer learning using puzzles, riddles, and quizzes as well. The same thing. Look at a puzzle, look at a quiz, you assign it to the team, everybody deliberates on it over a period of time. Then you all, as during your meetings, 15, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, everybody must come up with an idea as to what that puzzle means to them within their experience, within their work. And then that's how we go. So these are the various forms that micro-learning can take shape within organizations. Now, I talked about it's not meant for everybody, and it's a journey, and it has to be complemented with the whole learning experiences within the organization. So, for every employee journey, it is either you are introducing macro-learning to them, or you are introducing micro-learning to them. But at some point, it comes together, and then you can blend the two. You can't introduce an entry-level employee to a micro-learning. It's not going to be really impactful, because then because at that novice level, you want to build capacity in terms of technical skills, soft skills. You are building that, and that will not be the tool to use. Will not be micro-learning, but rather you want to use macro-learning. As you go through the master expert level, there they have already built the technical capacity and all that. So you are just introducing little bits of pieces of learning experiences to them as well. Now, Pricewaterhouse in 2019 did a research, and they came up with this. I just picked Pricewaterhouse, Deloitte, and Barnes & Noble College, which is one of the best books publishing houses out there. PricewaterhouseCoopers said that by 2020, millennials will constitute half of the global workforce. Deloitte is also saying that the average employee only has time to devote 1% of their work week to development. 1% of their work time. That's Deloitte, research. Now, situate that with the millennials that we have in our generation, the workforce now. When we were doing before the session started, we were talking about technology, and the millennials now understand more the use of technology. They don't have time. They are competing, corporate environment, we are competing, learning for them with social media, with other things. Their appetite for other things. Our remote work is becoming more critical for them. Work-life balance, spending time with their family, doing other things that are not career-related, but passion-related, are more for them. So how do you bring that together? And that's where micro-learning becomes, because 1% of their work life, they are going to dedicate that to learning. So one of the things that is being talked about within the learning space, the trend, is that very soon L&D will now have to push learning rather use social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, WhatsApp, TikTok, to rather, we are going to deliver learning through that medium rather very soon. And that because, how many times do you spend? You spend more time on these applications more than they spend on reading a book. You send them to training half of the time, and Mrs. J will tell you, you bring people to training, and that's why if you attend Mrs. J's training, you realize that you have to put your phone somewhere. It's competition, because the urge for them to go to their phones, which is mobile, which is easy, is more stronger than what you're going to be teaching them in the classroom. So rather take the learning from there and rather put it on the phone for them. And how do you use that? You don't need to invent a new application. These applications are there. You need to find ways by which you can push the learning through that instrument for them. Now, and that's what comes to how does the Generation Z, and the Generation Z are the people between the ages of 1998 coming down to, so they are constituting about half of the workforce now, a little bit into the Gen Ys. So now we need to look at, you need to first of all understand the demographics within your organization, understand the characteristics of how they learn, how they behave, even with how your talent management within your organization. All these things must play a role. And how do you develop? Because you realize that you want to push learning to them the way they want to learn, not the way you think or you are used to thinking that they should learn. Other than that, you will miss it. You will be pumping money into training, and you will say, we are spending more of our money, but we are not seeing the return on investment for them. So that is it. 51% by doing. People learn, this Generation Z, 51% they learn by doing. So you must now look at your training. How to, so on-the-job training is critical. Spend more time pumping your energy, your resources through on-the-job training than pushing people into the classroom. The classroom will just complement what they do on the job. And I'll come back to this in the next slide on something what we call the 70-20-10 model. And I'll talk a little bit about it, we'll end from there. 38% of the time, they learn by seeing, that is reading courses and materials. So they see videos are critical to them. So they see. Nowadays, if you want to talk about, men don't know how to cook, some people don't know. Now you don't need to go to a culinary school to learn how to cook. All you need to do is go on YouTube. Sweet ajele, whatever menu you can think of in the world, there is a video of it on YouTube. And you can learn how to. So what about it? If cooking, you can get a tutorial on cooking, and it will give you the same thing. It's better than reading a script that says, put this in, put this in. But with a video, the person is telling you, put this in, and you see the person put it in. It shows you an example of what the English. So if you don't know what this ingredient is, if you don't know what Negro pepper is, in Chile, you might think Negro pepper is Negro pepper is Ashawako, yeah. If you don't know what it is, you will see what it is on the video. So by that you learn, and you practice it on the job. So then by the time you are learning from it. And then it's only 12% of the time that they learn by listening and the classroom lectures. So as an organization, if you are going to focus more on putting people in the classroom to learn, you are only doing 12% of it for them. And in the 70-20-10, it's even worse. It's the 70% on the job, 20% by interacting with people, only 10% that we learn through the formal medium of learning. So if as an organization, you focus your learning experiences for your employees on only the formal medium of training, you are missing out on the 90%, which is the 70 and the 20%. So it is important that we take note of a design. In our learning design, you need to look at that. This will shock you. When I was doing the research, I was shocked by this data, especially the graph at the top. Especially at the graph. So why do people spend more time on social media? Remember, I've talked about social media, but I need to tell you how are they, because Look at the second one. You might think technology, US, America, which are the US and UK, Germany, Europe, they are technologically advanced. And China, look at number 1 and number 2. Oh, you can, okay. No, number 1. So, number 1 is the Philippines. Okay, all right. Number 1 is the Philippines. They spend more time. And this research is as of 2022. January 2022. The Philippines are the ones spending more time on social media than the people in America, the people in China, the people in Europe. Number 2 is Nigeria. Yes. The Nigerians are spending more time on social media in Africa. So I was shocked, Mr. J, when I saw this data. And they spend how many hours of the day? Even that will be about Nigerians spend about an average Nigerian spend about 3.5 hours or so on social media a day. A day. So if you have those kind of the group of the millennials within your organization, and a day, working hours total, they are spending 3.5 or so hours a day within their working hours. Remember, they spend just 1% of their work week for development, just 1%. 1% of 40 hours, that's 4 hours. So it is important that we take note of it. You did extension. Duplicate is not okay. Duplicate is okay. So that's the number 3 is Mexico. Yeah. Number 3 is Mexico. I'm actually saying that. Number 3 is Mexico. Number 4 is Indonesia. Come again. This is smaller. Yeah, I left it. It's fine. I'm just grabbing. So it is important that, because that was the last but one slide. So it's important that we understand these dynamics and these data. So now learning is not, as HR professionals or as L&D professionals, it's not enough just running training, putting people from the class office, say go to training here, go to training here. You must really spend time within and understand some of these data, because one, you are competing, these employees are, their time is being competitive. And it is important that we understand this to be able to bridge that gap and serve them right. The final slide I was going to talk about was the 70-20-10. Now, the 70% people learn on the job. So as L&D, you must look at, and this is a well-known concept, 70-20-10. You go on YouTube, you get a lot more information about it, and even how you can design learning around it for your employee. 70% of the time on the job. So most employees, when you say on the job training, they don't want to appreciate. But as L&D, in my organization, for instance, it's so hard to convince employees that 70% of what they are learning is on the job. So my colleagues and our job is to now find innovative ways that can draw their attention and for them to appreciate it. Because you can't teach somebody who is not ready to receive what you are given. So you must think around the block, engage people, see what the best practices are, and then we give it to them. For instance, I sent one of our directors for a conference which is the SWIFT conference, which is CIBOS, and he went to the conference, came back. Conference was in Australia, came back, and one day was this. About 2-3 weeks later, went for a meeting, and then we met, and he said, "Kweku, you haven't trained me. You haven't trained me." And I said, "But you just attended the conference. That's a conference, not a training." That's a mindset, and that's a whole director on its own. So if the director is thinking that a conference is not a training. I came for this conference. There were a lot of things that I knew that has been said. It has reinforced the knowledge that I have, that indeed I'm on the right path. It's a learning for me. How then do I go about what I know? There are things that I've heard that I never thought about it, I never knew about it. It's a new experience for me. In preparing for this workshop, this data that I saw myself, which I never knew, it's a learning experience for me. So how, and I didn't sit in the classroom for me to be taught about it. I had to, on the job. So learning on the job is really, really important in the classroom. The 10 reinforces, and that's one thing I like about Kweku also, their learning experience. Because when you come, it's more of activity-based. It's more activity-based. So by the time you finish, just reinforces the activity you are learning. And the intention is what it is. So 70% is the application and everything. One of the things I saw, there's an application called Kahoot. K-A-H-O. So if you're a trainer, that's one application. Menti-Mentor is also an application that you can use when you are training. These are game activities. So you can use it for quizzes. You can use it to test people's learning. So instead of when you come the following day, ask, what have you learned? You can use this